Hello, my name is Nick. At the end of August 2022, I had a stroke. So I thought I'd make some videos to explain what happened to me, how I could have avoided it, how you can possibly avoid having the same problems that I've had. We'll go through the causes. I say how to avoid them. One huge mistake I made, followed by a couple of other huge mistakes, to be quite honest with you. Then go into my time in hospital, what that was like, how I managed to get through it unscathed, and then on to the recovery. Hopefully someone who will be watching this can just pick up a few hints, tips on how to deal with this. I know one of the biggest issues I ever had was I've had no real experience of stroke. No one in my family's had one, none of my friends have, so it came as a bit of a shock when it happened to me. And the only sort of things I can recall from my childhood of hearing the word stroke was normally preceded by the phrase, "You'll never guess who's died." Back then people died of strokes. It's different now. I know modern technology is much better. And we have things like the adverts, the fast adverts on TV, absolutely vital, and I think helped save me, to be quite honest with you. So pay attention to those. Make sure you understand what they mean. And if you see anybody in the same situation, act as quickly as possible. So what happened to me? I was working from home and I woke up feeling a little bit off. I had a headache, which I put down to not sleeping well the night before. And as usual, I just thought, a bottle of water and a couple of paracetamol and I'll be fine. So I went downstairs to try and get some paracetamol out the back room in the kitchen. And when I was trying to open the boxes of paracetamol, I was struggling a little bit. And again, I put that down to the fact I was a bit tired, a bit clumsy. But the more and more I tried, the worse it seemed to be getting. When I got them open, I couldn't get the pills out of the blister pack. And I must have been making a bit of noise because my mum shouted through from the other room, "Are you alright?" And when I shouted back to reply to her, I noticed that my speech was slurred. And again, from watching the fast adverts, I knew what that meant. So I thought I'd walk back through to the front room. And as I was walking, my left leg and foot were dragging behind me. I got into the front room, holding onto all kinds of bits of furniture to get there in the first place. And then I just lost my balance completely. Started falling face first towards this solid pine coffee table. Thankfully my nephew was stood right there at that moment and managed to catch me and stop me falling flat on my face. I remember it like it was yesterday. The words he said, "Jesus Christ, are you alright?" And at the exact same moment my mum, who was there, said, "He's having a stroke." And I thought that at the same time myself. Such a strange thing to feel and to hear yourself saying. Thankfully, she was dialing 999 at the time. Managed to get through, speak to them, where he went through all the same thing. Is his face dropped? Check his arms, and I couldn't lift both arms. Is his speech slurred? Yeah. Is he feeling hot, etc. So he went through a lot of these things while the ambulance was en route. Luckily, I live just across the road from the hospital on the estate. I can see the hospital from the room upstairs. So it took 40 minutes for the ambulance to arrive and then 4 minutes to get from here to the hospital. So I was in hospital well within an hour, which I think has been absolutely vital. So all in all, I think I've been lucky, and it sounds stupid saying that after having a stroke, but things could have been a lot worse. And when I say that the title of this video, "This could save your life," this really could save your life. Because looking back on it, if I'd have been home alone and this had happened, I could have knocked myself out on that coffee table and been lying there for hours. Or it could have happened while I was in my car. I normally have to drive to a train station where I go down a bypass, a dual carriageway, where you're doing 60 miles an hour. So imagine veering off into oncoming traffic and having a head-on collision at 60 miles an hour. I could have been dead. I'm not. So I count myself lucky that way. What caused it was I had a brain hemorrhage, which caused a massive stroke and left me with a bleed on the brain. This was caused by high blood pressure, and this is the thing that to this day I will absolutely regret. Well, I'll regret it till the day I die, to be honest with you. We have a blood pressure tester machine in the house, and I never used it. If I did, I would have been able to see that my blood pressure was high. I could have gone to the doctors, I could have spoken to them, I could have got medication. I might not have been in the problems that I've since found. So that would be my advice to you now. Buy a blood pressure tester machine and test yourself, and if you find yourself being on the higher ranges, speak to your doctor and be open and honest as possible with them. It really can help save your life. The blood pressure I didn't realise I had, we later found out was caused by a few things. One was a little bit of work stress, which really I should have been a lot more able to deal with, but I wasn't. Again, should have spoke up, but I didn't. If you're having issues, speak to your boss. The main ones though, first one, alcohol. I didn't realise I had a problem. I knew I was drinking too much, but I didn't realise it was that much of a problem. If I'd have spoken to a doctor, we probably would have come to that agreement that it was too much. I could have just reined it back or stopped completely. The other one was diet. Now, I thought my diet was okay. Lots of pasta, lots of rice. I'd always try and get the healthy option. What I didn't realise was the amount of salt that was in my diet. It's something that come as a bit of a shock to me. And one of the main examples that I found out about afterwards was things like when my daughter comes over a weekend, I ask her what she wants. Sometimes she'll say, can we order a McDonald's? So, first of all, I'm not going to dig out McDonald's over this. They're no worse than any other takeaway provider. And to be honest, I will give them a little bit of a credit on this one. On their app, their official app, they have a section where you can check nutrition of foods, and it gives you the sort of calories, the fat, and also the recommended daily intake of salt percentages. What I didn't realise is something as simple as a quarter pounder with cheese and a large fries. That is more than 50% of your recommended daily intake of salt. It's not a huge deal in itself, but if you then combine that with, say, an unhealthy breakfast, lots of salted snacks during the day, and then a ready meal or something with a cooking sauce that is absolutely loaded with salt that you don't realise, and then more salted snacks afterwards, it's going to take you well over your 100% for the day. You continue to do this every other day or every day, and then combine that with too much alcohol and work stresses, then you are going to end up with a massive stroke like I had. So keep an eye on the amount of salt that's in your diet. Keep an eye on the amount of alcohol. I'm not telling you not to drink. I'm not telling you not to eat fast food. Just be thoughtful about how much is going into you and the kind of damage that it's doing. And if need be, if you don't think you can control it, speak to someone who can help you with that. So we'll move to me lying on a stretcher in hospital, which I've never spent any time in hospital at all. I've been in for accidents and emergency. I've been in to get something checked out. I've been in to get x-rays. I've been in for appointments that my doctors told me to go in for, but it's normally fly and visit. You're in and then you're out, or in A&E's case, you sat there for hours, you're seen by a doctor and then you go home straight away. Never spent any time in hospital. That first night I was lying in the hospital bed attached to machines all making weird noises, and it was a horrible feeling. I wasn't used to it. I'll be honest, I was scared. Yeah, I know, stupid, but 49-year-old man, 6'4" and 16 stone at the time, scared. Yeah. Well, I had every right to be scared because I didn't know what was happening. No one had ever told me about this. And I'd never took the time to have a look into the kind of things that can affect someone of my age and my lifestyle. And I wish I did. When what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak about the kind of things that I found in hospital and how I learned to deal with them in a separate video, and then also about the process of the physiotherapy and getting better and recovery, and about what happened when I ended up going home and the subsequent physio there as well. So hopefully these will be in future videos. I will leave a link to the blood pressure machine in the description. Trust me, it's well worth it. I think in Argos they're about £20, which is around €23, maybe $25. What's that? Price of a couple of nice bottles of wine or a takeaway. Just ditch the wine and takeaway just once. Get yourself a blood pressure testing machine. Stay on top of it. And like I say, I will keep on going back to this, but if your blood pressure is high, speak to your doctor and be honest about it. If you smoke, tell him you smoke. If you drink loads, tell him you drink loads. If you diet to bin fire, tell him it's a bin fire. Don't lie to them. They're not there to judge you. They're there to make sure that you're healthy and you're doing well. And they will make sure they do that for you. Buy yourself one. Get one for Christmas. Buy one for Christmas for someone else. And tell them why. So I hope to see you in the future videos. If you like what I'm talking about so far, or it's interesting, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you've got any questions or any comments on it, put them in the comments channel. And don't forget, you only get one life. Don't throw it away. Hello, my name is Nick, and at the end of August 2022 I had a stroke. I thought I'd make some videos to explain what happened to me and chart my recovery and recuperation from that stroke. This is the part where in a Hollywood script it would say hospital interior night. A mild-mannered civil servant surrounded by beeping machines, when all of a sudden he is awoken by a manic cry. It's me. Well, yeah, that sort of is in the script, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So at this point I'm lying in the hospital bed, a couple of nights after being admitted after having the stroke. Still very, very scared, still not knowing what's going on, having no idea how long I'm going to be in there. And I've mentioned in the first video I'd never spent any time in hospital, and I didn't know how long this was going to last. I just knew I was in hospital for the foreseeable future. I found it a very, very scary place to be, to begin with. Dark. At times the darkness was just all pervading. It was felt like it was grabbing me. Wasn't helped by the fact that, one, I wasn't allowed to get up. If someone seen me trying to get out of bed, any of the staff, they would have to come and get me and make sure I was put back in bed. Not that that was going to happen, because two, I was incapable of getting out of bed. The stroke affected the right hand side of my brain, which has made the left hand side of my body just stop working completely. So even if I wanted to get out of bed, I couldn't do. My leg is working now, my arm is not working properly yet. There is some movement and I can wiggle my fingers, etc., but I still can't use it, which is annoying, but I don't let that frustration get to me. So while I'm lying in bed, the thing that was really getting to me though, I felt trapped. And at the same time I was also wearing something called Floatrons, which are these sort of socks, compression socks that you wear because you can't get up and walk. You're in danger of having blood clots. So you have compression socks that are connected to a machine, and they just constantly will constrict, contract, and then expand. Do that all night long on both legs around your calf muscles. So you're feeling trapped anyway, but at the same time this thing is grabbing you, and it feels like someone is grabbing you and pulling you tight to the bed. And it was a horrible, horrible feeling. I'll be honest, that first week I struggled mentally very badly, and a lot of what I'm going to say, I can't believe I'm going to tell you, and I can't believe I said this to psychologists. It sounds weird, but stick with it. Bear with me. Have you ever heard of the term mood hoover? For all the non-Brits who are watching this, Hoover was the biggest selling vacuum cleaner brand in sort of the 60s and 70s, I think. So successful that to this day, the majority of Brits don't call a vacuum cleaner, they just call it a Hoover. Anyway, mood hoovers are people that I've had lots of experience with over the years, especially in work environments. And what they do, they're normally bitter, horrible little people that cannot stand anyone who are showing any kind of happiness or a sense of energy or anything. So what they'll do is they'll pick away at that and try and drag that person down. They'll hoover away any happiness and any energy that you have to drag you down to their level. That's what makes them happy. The bitter, horrible people. Well, I think we all have that inside us. And the reason why is because I was in that hospital bed. At times, my own brain was acting as a mood hoover, trying to drag me into the dark recesses where I didn't want to go. So I had to fight against that. And I tend to visualise a hell of a lot of things because I find it easy to deal with. I don't know if it's the poet in me or the frustrated writer, but if I can visualise something, I find it easier to talk about or to deal with. So, for me, the mood hoover that was inside me, it took the form of pigeons. Again, like I say, this sounds stupid, and I was talking to a trained professional psychologist about this, but it was pigeons. So grey, drab, functional, but there's lots of them, and they are constantly everywhere, whirling round. And these mood hoover pigeons would come during the night and would try and drag me to places I didn't want to go to, places that I think in hindsight might have been dangerous for me. So my ego, and I'm going to keep on doing this and it looks stupid again, my ego, there's a sliver of my ego there which I visualised as this, if you imagine drawing a lightning bolt, it's the end of a lightning bolt, a raggedy lightning bolt, and it's made of gold and it goes down here. That's my ego. That's the part of my ego that I needed to fight back against mental health problems. In this case, the mood hoover pigeons. Well, that there came up with Nick, the bird of paradise. Yeah, I know, stupid, and typical. I'm an ugly man, so I picked a bird of paradise, the most beautiful and showy bird possible. Well, he helped. Whenever the mood hoover pigeons would turn up, Nick the bird of paradise would jump onto a branch, hop up and down, shaking his feathers, saying, "Look at me, look how beautiful I am, look how interesting I am. I deserve investigation. Don't look at them, look at me now." For that first week, he fought off any feelings of insecurity, any feelings that I was getting dragged to places I didn't want to go to. It was him. And again, I spoke to the psychologist. I mentioned Nick the bird of paradise versus the mood hoover pigeons. Hearing those words come out of my mouth to a trained psychologist. Yeah. But what am I talking about? Shut up, soft lad. But I carried on. The following week, this morphed slightly, and that ego changed, and I got it wrong to begin with. I said that I was the reincarnation of Rick Mail. I wasn't, obviously. I was alive for most of Rick Mail's life, so I can't possibly be his reincarnation. What I meant was that part of me there, that part of my ego, that was channeling the energy of Rick Mail, the bits that we all loved about him, that his ego, his manic energy, that need to be the funniest man in any room, that need and desire to steal every scene he ever appeared in. That was what was needed. In the second week, his energy became Nick Mail. And he used to jump up, and that's where it's me comes from. Like Lord Flashheart. The mood hoover pigeons would turn up, Nick Mail would jump up. No darkness allowed, not at all. More lights, more cameras, put them on me. And he would protect me during those dark nights. It sounds stupid, but it worked. And I explained this to the psychologist, like I say, hearing those words come out of my mouth. Nick the Bird of Paradise versus the Mood Hoover Pigeons. I am the reincarnation of Rick Mail. That I'm talking to a trained professional. She's going to put me in a room with padded wallpaper and I'm never going to get out. But thankfully, the psychologist understood where I was coming from. I was actually quite impressed that I had that wherewithal to see deep inside myself, to see where the problems were coming from, and to discover something that I had that could fight against it. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy that I discovered it. I'm happy to talk about it, and I'm happy to take it forward for any future issues that I have. The title of this particular video is Mental Health versus Mental Strength. I think I left hospital mentally stronger than I went into it. I certainly think I was stronger mentally than most people in that hospital, because I was willing to submit to idiocy for protection. And by that, it sounds stupid what I'm talking about. And I think other people wouldn't even admit to having these thoughts, let alone talking about it to people. But it helped, and it helped protect me. And I think it can do the same for anyone else. You don't have to be in a hospital bed. If you're lying at home in the dark at night and you're starting to have these feelings that things are getting too much, speak up, speak to someone, and do whatever it takes to get through. For me, it's that got me through. That sliver of ego, Nick Mail and the Bird of Paradise. It's whatever it takes for you. What I liken it to is how many of us here, when we were children, had imaginary friends. How many kids are around the world now, these days, who've got imaginary friends, and when they're in bed at night and it's dark and they're a bit scared, will reach out their arm and will grab the hand of that imaginary friend, and that will see them through the night. That's what I see it as. You know, as adults and as parents, we tell children that it's stupid to have an imaginary friend. And this is 5 minutes after we tell them about Father Christmas and the Tooth Fairy. You know, I don't think imaginary friends become a problem until they start writing on the walls with a Sharpie. Until then, let the kids have that, because that's what they need to get through the night. And sometimes that's all we need, the imaginary friend. Mine's there. You just need to find yours. So one of the main things I've taken away from all this is the need to address any problems that you've got. Speak to someone. That's one of the main things. Just acknowledge that you have a problem if things like this are affecting you. Speak to someone. Getting it off your chest really does help. Whether that's a healthcare assistant in hospital, a doctor, a nurse, a physio, someone that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, or a family member or a friend. If you're having issues where you feel like your mental health's being affected, talk. It'll never do you any harm, that I can guarantee you. And it could end up being exactly what you need just to get the ball rolling, to improve. For me, I mean, it's the ego. It's letting the ego just get that little bit of free rein to fight against those demons. It might not be that way with you. It's whatever it takes for you to feel better about what's happening, to feel better about yourself, and to deal with some of the issues that you have. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the recovery process and physios and things like that. But also, I'm going to talk about positive mental attitude. I don't want to come across as one of these, gurus or trainers and, be happy all the time, be positive all the time. So that doesn't work at all. I'm just going to tell you what happened and what worked for me and what of an impact I had on other people through the attitude that I had. It's also the reason why I changed the name of the channel, because genuinely it's a hugely important thing for me. So I want to go into a bit more depth with that next time round. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed, liked or taken anything from this video, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, or if you've got any questions or comments, put them down below. I will try and get back to you as soon as possible. And don't forget, you only get one life. Don't throw it away. Hello, my name is Nick and welcome to Positive Mental Attitude. Just going to do a very quick video here. Just a little bit of an update on something I thought about, which sort of relates to the last main video. It's about the kind of things that you need to do to get yourself through those days in hospital. This one for me, I think again was quite vital. I was on a ward there was 4 of us, so it was 3 other people, and I changed a few times where people were getting better and going home and someone else would come in. But it's quite a high dependency ward when you've got a stroke. You can't do things for yourself. So you're constantly needing people to come in and do things. So it's a strange environment. It can be stressful. It can be gleeful at times as well. So one of the things I found that I had to do to deal with things there was to tweet about it. Anyone who knows me knows I tweet a lot about stuff just to get it out of my head. For me, it's like having however many thousand people follow me. It's like having 1,000+ psychiatrists listening to you. Get it out, get it done. But also, I know there was a lot of people that were following me who were wanting to know how I was getting on, whether I was improving, how I was feeling, all that kind of thing. So that was an easy way of getting that out to a lot of people without having to text people or WhatsApp them all the time. So I did. I was tweeting constantly how things were going, how physio went, what I've been doing, what kind of exercises, how good the nurses and the healthcare assistants were, supporting the staff in there, and then trying to give people a bit of an idea of what was happening. So that did include talking about my fellow inmates in Get Well prison, as I referred to it. Now, it was good to get things out and get it over and done with and explain what happened. Like I said to you, just tell people what's happening. It's not then on your brain, it goes and you can concentrate more on other things. When I'm talking about the other people, I was very, very aware of the fact that I don't want to mention people by name, even though the chances of anyone who knows them following me is remote. That's not the point. You know, give people the dignity they deserve, but was still wanting to talk about what was happening because it was affecting me directly. So I started giving people code names. And this is why I wanted to talk about this, because I know there will be people who follow me who want to know the origin of at least one of these nicknames. Yeah, so if you are going to do something similar, talk about people, but anonymise who it is you're talking about, because it wouldn't be nice if you found out that you've been talking about them. So, it started off with one person who seemed to be constantly asking for help and support of the healthcare assistants and the nurses. At the start, it just, for me, it felt a little bit like it was too much. It was just every single time someone walked past, hello, can you come and help me? And things that he didn't really need help with. So I found him quite needy. So of course he became Needy Gonzalez, the little Mexican mouse. To be honest with you, by the time I finished and left the place, he had stopped asking for help so much and he was doing a lot for himself. And I think I will mention that later on in another video. So I was absolutely delighted to see his improvement anyway. But that's how we started off. I may rename him at some point and then just randomly tweet about him just to make things up to him. Secondly, there was someone else in there who was one of the most negative people I'd ever met in my life. Constantly moaning about everything. Obviously it wasn't ideal being in hospital and using the use of your limbs and not being able to do things for yourself, especially if you are someone who's really used to doing that. And we were all in there. In fact, the majority of people were older than me. I was the youngest one in there by quite some distance. So everyone was used to their own independence or running companies or, you know, being the main man. All of a sudden they couldn't even, you know, go to the toilet on their own without help. So I understand people are needy, but he was even worse. Everything was a problem. To be honest, all the moaning, I said he was a bit of a man-child, so he became Neneh Cherry. So when I'm tweeting about Neneh Cherry and Needy Gonzalez, it's two people, it's not me losing my mind. The third one, a fella came in, he was in the bed next to me, and he was coughing all night, but he wasn't just like a normal cough. It was a particular style of cough, and it went and that to me sounded like Phil Collins doing the ha 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 bits in Mama by Genesis. So he became Phil Collins, and I used to have entire days where I'd be tweeting about this alternative reality in which Phil Collins was in the bed next to me. I hope he's alright. He was a decent fella actually. So in fact I hope they're all alright. They're all decent people. We all started off at a low ebb, and we all had to sort of drag each other up slightly. I think we all learned how to be a bit more positive. I certainly did, and again, that positivity is going to be the main thing in one of the future videos. But to sort of tell you about the people I was sharing with and where those nicknames came from. Hello, my name's Nick, and at the end of August 2022 I had a stroke. I'm making these videos to try and explain what happened to me and my experiences of being in hospital, of leaving hospital, and of trying to recover from that stroke. I keep on thinking I'm going to get to physio and stuff keeps cropping up in my mind, so you have to bear with me on this one. This is going to be another strange video. Please, again, bear with me on that, because these are genuinely things that happen to me and things I think may benefit other people. So this one is entitled I Can Hear Mountains. Something that I didn't realise, like I've said in previous videos, I've had no experience of spending any length of time in hospital, and certainly not on a stroke ward, which is a different matter altogether. What they don't tell you, or what you don't realise, is the sheer amount of time you spend on your own in the bed. So what the normal day is like, this can vary slightly depending on sort of the timetables, but either you have a bed bath or you have your breakfast, and then vice versa. So say bed bath, then breakfast, that can take 45 minutes to an hour in total between those two. Then you'll go and do some physio. At most you're going to do 1 hour's physio, any more than that and you'll be wiped out for the rest of the day. Then they'll take you back into your bed in time for dinner or lunch for the non-Northern English speaking people. Again, it doesn't take too long to eat that. You're not eating a 3-course meal with cheese and biscuits afterwards. And you'll have your tea or dinner later on. So in total, you're going to have about 2.5 hours where you're not just lying in your bed doing nothing. So you are then, in a 24-hour day, you're spending the best part of 22 hours a day just lying there, and you've got to try and keep yourself busy somehow. You've got TVs there, you don't watch TV, but you know, let's face it, most of the stuff that's on there is utter rubbish. I spent a lot of time listening to music, trying to just drown things out. That does help, but it's still, you can't do that constantly, and even if you do, your brain still has to work. You've got to keep yourself ticking over and keep yourself busy. So it was finding ways of filling that time and doing it in the right kind of way, if that makes any kind of sense. And for me, it was about thinking. And when I say it was about thinking, I don't mean, oh, what can I have for tea tonight, or who would win in a fight between an alligator and a shark and things like that. It was thinking about things I never thought before, or trying to explore avenues which would nourish my brain. a lot of people who are in there say we'll watch TV and we'll talk to the nurses or the healthcare assistants as they walk past. You know, a lot of young, attractive girls working there. So of course these middle-aged men on a stroke unit flirting with them, because of course that's what every young girl wants, is a middle-aged man who can't use half of his body and needs ass wiping for him, instead of a 25-year-old gym rat of a boyfriend who's got a 1.1 pimped out Vauxhall Nova. Yeah, you know, it's delusional. That doesn't tickle a pickle, trust me on that one. I'd talk to them about things I was reading or things I'd seen, and a lot of them are very, very intelligent people. You know, they're professionals, they're well educated, they're highly trained. A lot of them have got very good educations, so they're not averse to talking about things a little bit more important about what do you think, a deal or no deal last night, or you know, stupid stuff like that. So one of the things that I was doing while I was inside, I keep saying it, get well prison. It wasn't a prison, and I certainly didn't feel that way apart from to begin with, where I felt a bit trapped. But you know, one of the things I did when I was in the hospital, I started reading about metaphysics. Now this is where it's going to get a little bit weird, so bear with me on that one. And also, if there's any noises, it's because of this beauty. My wrist's sore today, so I've had to put it in my splint to make sure it's alright. Yeah, metaphysics, and I spoke to a couple of the nurses about it. Because you're lying there for hour after hour in bed, it's a good opportunity to let your brain go and just explore some of the things that you'd normally never even think about. And I don't know if everyone here knows about metaphysics, but it's just about a little bit of a deeper dive into what things actually are, your day-to-day things. I think probably the most famous of metaphysical sort of questions or quandaries that everyone knows about is that classic line, if a tree falls in a forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? And the majority of people that I've heard being asked that question was like, yeah, of course it does. You know, it's big, it's heavy. As it's falling, you'll hear the creaking, the cracking of the timbers. You'll hear the leaves hitting other leaves and branches on the way down, the thud of the trunk as it hits the floor. But is that the nature of sound? Is that what sound is? Does it exist just because something like that happens? If I was here now and I was hitting a drum, would that make a sound? Or would that just make waves, energy waves in the air? Does it only become sound when it hits an eardrum? Does sound have to have a transmitter and a receiver? So, does sound actually exist unless there's an eardrum there to hear it? So it's that kind of thing. And again, I'm sure a lot of the nurses were not used to being asked about these kind of things or having conversations like this, and they seem to quite enjoy it. But I found it absolutely fantastic and enlightening. And I think there was one night where I was really going for it, having a good old hard think. Must have lasted hours, and I'd come to the conclusion that we're all made of stardust. I don't think that's too stupid to say. Every element that makes us and makes the chair that you sat on, the TV that you're watching, the grass outside, everything we see is made up of elements and atoms. The elements were from a dying star. The star, you know, collapsed in on itself and exploded outwards, blowing all the elements out, like helium, hydrogen, all smashed into each other and created heavier and heavier elements until you got to the likes of carbon, which is a lot of what we're made of. But it also made things like mountains, stone, made all of these things. So I think we're all connected on an atomic level. Again, I'm not an old hippie stupid like that. I genuinely think this is the case. I think we have a natural resonance. Each person has their own natural resonance. So if you play guitar, you'll understand, you know, when you hit a chord and it sounds right, all the notes are correct, everything's perfectly resonating together, it sounds good and it feels good. If you hit a note that's wrong, even though it's wrong, if it's in the right sort of scale and it's the right harmonic resonance, it still sounds good together. And if you get one that's completely wrong, it sounds horrible, and you put the guitar down straight away. You don't do that again. Well, I think that's the way we are as people. That's why you can meet someone for the first time and think, oh, what a great person that is. I feel like I've known them all my life. It's because you're resonating on a similar frequency. And also works the other way around. And for me, I think the best example of that would be a dog. How many times have you seen a dog with loads of strangers tickling its tummy and being great, stroking it, and the dog's dead happy and the tail's wagging, and then one person who it's never met before just goes over to stroke it and straight away it starts growling? It's because the dog doesn't like the frequency that person's vibrating on. Animals are more perceptive than we are. But, and again, we're up to about number 358, and I can't believe I've just said that out loud. This is where it comes to me discussing with a psychologist. I can hear mountains. Mountains play a huge part in this journey of mine, especially Mount Everest, which is why when I got the AI to do the logo for the channel, when it just come up with a mountain with someone stood in front of it without me putting anything in there apart from positive mental attitude, it freaked me out, because that is what I've been using as a metaphor for my journey. Getting better from a stroke is my Mount Everest. So it's quite weird. And I watch lots of documentaries about mountaineering and lots of films about it, because I'm fascinated by it. I think the people who do it are incredible people. It must take such courage and drive to do that. I couldn't personally do it. I'm absolutely shit scared of heights. No way on earth you get me even on the base of a mountain, never mind up there. So, but seeing a lot of these Nepalese sort of tour guides, Sherpa, an incredible selection of people, the Sherpa. They're very spiritual. They see Everest as a deity, as a god. That's why they pray before they go up. They try and encourage the good spirits and appease the benign spirits. I don't believe in God. I don't believe anything like that, but I do believe this harmonic resonance. I do believe we have a connection with things. So when they're talking about grabbing hold of a rock and they sort of feel the mountain through them, I get that, because I sort of do too. Whenever I've been somewhere where there's old rock, like big huge slabs of rock, like the Yorkshire Dales, if you touch a really old slab of rock, it's a different feeling and a different sort of, I don't know, it feels different inside when you do that than when you do it on the side of a house on new bricks. It's hard to explain. Try it, go to Snowdonia, something like that, or next time you're out and about and you see a big slab of old rock, touch it and see if you feel the same kind of thing. Because I know I do. And that's why I said to the psychologist, sometimes I can hear mountains. I just feel like I'm connected with something on a different plane. So for me, that those times when I was able to think and really let my mind go were really important. Important for keeping me sane and for keeping me busy, I suppose. When you're spending 23 hours or 22 hours a day in a hospital bed, you need something to take your mind, off the things like, oh my God, I'm in here, I'm really, really sick, I might not get through this, or I'm missing my family, or stupid things like that, or I'm missing going to match. No, these are not important things. You need to get rid of them out of your mind, and not enough of us do this. I think people who meditate do. I think what they do is they do a factory reset. You try and empty the brain completely to let the body relax, which is a great thing to do. But I also think you need to do it just for the brain as well. Not empty it completely. Feed it. I think your brain needs feeding a bit more. I know Daniel on Embrace the Suck, 21, he always finishes his sort of the videos with his little tagline, unplug and go and have an adventure. That's important, it really is. Get away from all the electronics. And I know it's stupid me saying this on YouTube, where you'll be watching this on an electronic device, but occasionally you do need to unplug, go and do something else. I think you need to do it for your brain as well. We don't think enough. Even times when you think you're thinking enough, you're not. When you're away on holiday and you're lying on a sun lounger music on quite low, sunglasses on, all of a sudden in the background you've got the DJ, resident DJ in the hotel bar playing Barbie Girl by Aqua and Saturday Night and things like that. So you never really switched off, or you never allow yourself just to see what your mind is capable of doing. I think we should all do that if we can. Take a little bit of time, find something that either interests you or that you don't really understand, but just try and find out what that is and push yourself to learn more about it. And I don't mean you have to go and start reading the Encyclopedia Britannica or the entire works of Shakespeare or War and Peace. All you need to do is find a little bit of something. I mean, you can put £1 worth of petrol in the car and that car will still do 100 miles an hour. You don't need to fill the tank up. And it's the same with reading. Just find that little bit of something that piques your interest and gets you going. But genuinely, if you do get a chance, go and touch some old stone and see if you feel something. If you do, let me know in the comments, and if you don't, shut up, really, you know. But yeah, we've all got to find a way of, I don't know, I keep saying nourishing the mind. The mind is amazing, it's an organ, it needs to be nourished. And, you know, not just water, it needs to be with information, and good information, things that keep it working. This was particularly important because it was a stroke unit, so my brain's been damaged at the time. And I wanted to make sure it was still working, and I was still at least trying to make use of it and keep it going. I didn't want to come out and suddenly have no memory of things, or not be able to speak English, which a lot of people will probably say I can't. Yeah. But seriously, take the time to nourish your brain. People go to the gym all the time, work on every muscle that they've got, and then they completely forget that one. That needs a workout as well, however you get it. Doing crosswords, or reading, or thinking about hearing mountains, doesn't matter what it is. Just make sure you do it. If you look after your brain will give you so much more back, and it'll protect you really well. So, yeah, if you like what I've been talking about, found any of it interesting, please consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the like button. Leave a comment down below. If you've got any questions about anything I've said, or just in general about this journey, please put them in the comment section as well, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And don't forget, you only get one life. Don't throw it away. Hello and welcome to Positive Mental Attitude. My name is Nick, and at the end of August 2022, I had a stroke. These videos are to tell you the story about what happened to me, tell you some of my experiences inside and out of the hospital, and about my recovery from the stroke. This one, this is going to be another bit of a strange one. This sort of straddles the line between being in hospital and being home, and it's some of the things that you don't get told about in advance. And this is about having to park your shyness and dignity to one side. Like I say, you don't get told about this, you don't get pre-warned about it. These are just things that happen to you, and you start to realise what you need to do to get through them. Right, so the dignity side of things, I was in the hospital for 8 weeks, and for 6 of those 8 weeks I had to be hoisted into and out of bed, like an engine being taken out of a car, or a massive fish being held up to be weighed on a Florida quayside. I'm 6'4", which is 1.93, 1.94 metres. And just before I went into hospital, I was 16 stone, which is around about 100 kilos, maybe 220 pounds. So I'm not small by any stretch of the imagination. I lost 3 stone while I was in hospital, which is quite a lot to lose. And I'm still a lot thinner than I was. I've never been fat, but I was quite hefty. So I understood the need to be hoisted in and out of bed. I couldn't have nurses trying to manhandle me, even having lost the weight. When you've lost half the use of half of your body and your balance is completely gone, it's just like, you know, being completely drunk, being a dead weight. It'd be impossible to try and lift someone. So you have to, it felt a little bit undignified to begin with, but towards the end, it didn't bother me in the slightest. I knew it was there to protect the healthcare assistants, protect their health, and also health and safety, making sure that nothing was going to happen to me. So towards the end, I was just treating it like it was a glorified fairground ride. Didn't bother me. But you do have to, at the start, get over that little bit of a sort of a shock to your system. Like I say, when you're in hospital with a stroke especially, having lost half of my body, can't use my arms, can't use my legs, can't stand up, balance gone completely, so you can't just get up and go to the bathroom. And again, it's fairly quick that you learn these things. You have to piss into a cardboard tube, into a cardboard bottle, which I had real problems with at the start. No matter how hard I tried, no matter what I got myself into, I'd end up with some back on myself. So I was constantly covered in my own piss, which is not particularly nice. But again, I knew I wasn't the only one. There was other people suffering the same. And the healthcare assistants are used to it. They know this is the kind of thing that happens to you when you can't control all of your functions and all of your body. Also the same for using a bedpan. It's a horrible thing to have to do, but you have to, it's nature. And again, you do have to park that dignity to one side. The healthcare assistants, again, it's their job to clean you up. As horrible as it seems, that is part of their job, and they are used to it. They've done it before with other people, they will do it afterwards with other people, they will do it with you. There's no judging going on, and they do try and do it in such a way that you maintain your dignity as much as possible, which is something I think we should all be grateful for with that. This also extends to being at home, which obviously I'm at home now. Very few NHS wards have heart-shaped mirrors on the wall. This used to be my sister's room. That is not my mirror, although I'm keeping it. I've got quite fond of it, so, but I didn't go out and buy one, just telling you. Anyway, the dignity at home. I mean, today, 8 o'clock this morning, I was stood by the sink in the little bathroom downstairs, whilst a woman who must be in her early 60s pulled down my jogging bottoms and underwear, and I was stood there naked. You have to not get embarrassed or shy about that. Again, that's their job, that's what they're used to. I still have a few issues with getting washed and dressed, although I'm that far away from not needing any help at all, so it's been a long journey, but I am getting there. But you have to park that as well. But again, they're not judging you. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's part of the process and it's part of the recovery. So a 60-odd-year-old woman, but a flamboyantly gay man, young studenty type girls, middle-aged fellas who have been through the same thing I'm going through myself now. It's all different kind of people who come in and help you, and that's what they're there for. They're there to help you. There's no judging. But again, you have to park that little bit of shyness and your dignity just to one side. Just remember, everyone who's going through this is in the same situation as you. It can be difficult, but you have to do it. You've got no choice, otherwise you go local. Yeah, so there's that little bit I wanted to talk about, but also, while I was still in the hospital, the first physio session I had to get hoisted out and placed on a plinth, just a little, like a flatbed plinth. And there was no leg work, there was no arm work, there was nothing like that really. My first physio sessions were all about balance. And it sounds weird, but everything comes from balance. I'm a firm believer in yin-yang, that everything should be balanced in life anyway. Sour and sweet, happy and sad, not too high, not too low, all that kind of stuff. But your actual centre line balance, your midline, which is what they kept shouting at me, was trying to find that balance, because if you've got that, then you're halfway there, and if you haven't, you won't be standing up anytime soon. So sitting on a plinth, and I've had 4 or 5 people around me. It's your first day of physio, and it felt like at the time half the physios in the world were there with me. They were all looking at me from different angles, protecting me from different angles. And it was like, you get a newborn baby, or you get a child, a sort of not yet toddlerish, and you put them on a sofa. You have to put all kinds of cushions next to them to make sure they don't topple over. Well, it was like that. So a 49-year-old man not being able to sit up straight, and I had to have physios to stop me from sliding over. But that was the very, very start, learning that, trying to find your midline, trying to find your balance. And then from there, as things were getting better, getting a bit stronger, your core's getting stronger, you'd have to sit out in a stroke chair, which forces you to sit in such a position that all your core muscles are working. It got to the point where getting to stand was the next step. Well, no, not the next step, because the next step is a step, but getting to stand. And that was an amazing feeling. It sounds stupid, but standing up is so underrated. When you've not done it for weeks and weeks, you've been lying in the bed, just being able to feel the floor under your feet and a little bit of weight going through your legs and feeling tall. Like I say, I'm 6'4". I'm used to being normally higher than anyone else in the room. And then for weeks and weeks, I'm just lying down in a bed. It's weird. It plays with your head. But that first stand was amazing. And the things they were getting me to do, I couldn't understand why. It was stupid things, but getting pegs, washing pegs, and putting them on a ruler. How is that going to help me with anything? Of course it does, because it's all about getting out of balance, but trying to maintain your balance at the same time. Looking behind you, what use is that? Standing up and looking behind you. And it's all about, if you're trying to cross a road when you've just started learning to walk again, you've got to be able to look for cars and things, These are the things you don't think about. But everything they did was a little step towards the next goal. And it's just absolutely amazing. I would say the physios, especially the ones over in Southport Hospital, are lucky they were born when they were, because by rights they should be burned for witchcraft. The things that they do. They have such an ability to take people who have absolutely nothing, no movement, no ability, and then within weeks, you're on your feet, you're taking little steps, little step forward, little step back, being able to move, being able to sit up in the bed and hold yourself up. It's absolutely incredible. So I would always try and support the physios, all the healthcare professionals that are in there. But the physios, what I will say, if you ever need physio, is whatever you can afford to give to them in terms of energy and commitment, you will get tenfold in return. Don't take them for granted. I realised very, very early on that the cost of physiotherapy and the cost of having one physio is a hell of a lot. I think I was looking at it, because I'm now without physio for months, 2 months without it I think I'm going to be. And it looks like home visits are about £75 for 1 hour. And that's for one person, and I was having 6 and 7 different people, and I was having so many hours during a week. That resource, if I had to pay for it, would cost a fortune. And it was there on the NHS for me. Whenever they had a spare little bit of capacity, they would come and get me, because they knew I was one of the ones that would go, yeah, go on, I'll do it. If you were looking around, there'd be some people lying in bed going, oh no, I didn't really sleep well last night, or I don't feel like it today. Me, yeah, go on, I'll do it. Because I wanted to get better. So I always felt like I wanted to give 100% to them, because I know they were giving everything they had, all their experience, all their time, the qualifications, their know-how was towards giving me the best opportunity I could possibly have to overcoming this and getting back to a point where I can walk around the house now. I've got a walking stick at times that I need, but I can make my own way to the bathroom and make my own way to the kitchen to make a cup of tea. I'm not as reliant on people as I was to begin with. So any physio that you ever receive in any situation, whatever you give, you will get more in return. Make sure you commit to it completely. Don't waste their time, because you're not only wasting their time, you're wasting your own. But yeah, that was the main thing. I like the physio at home now, having to do. I had 6 weeks, that's all I was given when I left the hospital. 6 weeks of funded physio. Then there's a gap until more funded physio will be put in place. But those 6 weeks having to work at home with, luckily, some of the physios that were in the hospital with me meant that I've been able to find things around the house to utilise for doing the physio. I'd reached the plateau while I was in the hospital. There's only so much you can do within the gym setting that they've got. What I needed was to be able to learn how to walk from my bedroom here through to the living room, because I'm on the same floor as the living room and kitchen. Be able to walk from my living room through to the kitchen, through to the bathroom. Being able to eventually get upstairs to go for a shower or a bath, which I can now do. You can't practice walking upstairs in a gym, in the hospital, especially not that set of stairs. Each set of stairs in each house is a little bit different, and you have to learn according to what your circumstances are. So I spent weeks and weeks with people pulling me around bed, stretching me and showing me all kinds of things to do. So now I know what I can do on my own, and I keep pushing myself to try and get better. I just wish, I don't want to go all political, but I want to have to on this one. Just wish the NHS was funded properly. 6 weeks isn't enough for someone who's had a massive stroke. I had a brain hemorrhage and a massive stroke and a bleed on the brain. That's a hell of a lot to happen to someone, and it had such an impact on me that I needed more than 6 weeks to translate from hospital into doing it at home. So, well, no one's going to be watching this who's got any kind of power, I know, but push for it if you can. There should be more services for stroke victims. It's more re-enablement to get us back on our feet, literally. But push yourself. If you really want to get better, you will push yourself. You have to. No one else is going to do it for you. Many's the day I've sat there on the sofa looking at the clock, waiting for someone to turn up, because I've wanted to get stuck into physio. I've wanted to get moving. I felt a bit stiff or tight, and I wanted them to come in and get me moving. And in doing that in such a way that I'm not injuring myself or pulling something because I'm doing it wrong or doing something stupid. So I now think I'm at that point where I can recognise what I need to do and what I can't do. So I'm happy with that. But it is literally, no one else is going to come in and start doing steps for you. You have to do it. And you've got to have that little bit of something inside you to say, I want to get better. I genuinely want to get better. I don't want to sit there and cry about it. I want to push myself until the point where I can't move anymore. And that, again, this is something completely off the top of my head I've just thought of now. You will not believe how tiring some of the physio is. I could get up on my feet and I'd walk around the house for an hour and there's not a problem whatsoever. 10 minutes of hand exercises, moving them, just one finger up and down, splaying them, moving a hand. That would have me asleep for 2 hours, because the amount of muscles and tendons involved in moving the fingers is ridiculous, and it's so tiring mentally, having to think about what you're doing. You're having to retrain your brain to move things that move naturally. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's so difficult to get your head around at times, but it has to be done. And I am getting there bit by bit, but it's a bloody long road, really is, and it's hard, and it's sore still now. The weight of a dead arm pulling on a shoulder gave me a subluxation, which means it was pulling the arm bone out of the socket, and everything, all the muscles and sort of nerves around there have been damaged. So that is it's been really sore now for months, and it's going to be sore for months to come. But if I push myself through that and get to the point where I can use my left hand better as well, because it's doing me head in. If that comes back, I'll be halfway there. Anyway, push yourself. Don't feel embarrassed about anything that happens to you when you're in hospital. They are professionals, they understand what's happening to you. and they don't judge you. So that's my takeaway from that one anyway. Thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the video. If you liked it or you've taken anything from it, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the like if you can. That'll help me grow the channel. And drop a comment. If you've got any questions, put them in the comment section as well. And don't forget, you only get one life. Don't throw it away. Hello and welcome to Positive Mental Attitude. My name is Nick, and at the end of August 2022 I had a stroke. I've made these videos to explain some of my experiences of having the stroke and my subsequent recovery. Today I'm going to talk about nature, which I suppose will sound a bit weird when we were talking about hospitals. This does cover hospital and being at home now. Hospitals, by their very nature, are completely unnatural environments. Nobody or hardly anybody spends up to 23 hours a day in bed, especially not surrounded by machines, beeping machines, Flowtron machines that are grabbing your calf muscle and making a noise, other people on the ward shouting for help or using the buttons that you get, alarm buttons, so an alarm goes off and we'll get someone to come in running to make sure that you're alright. Everything makes noise. You've got the clanking of trolleys as people come in and out. You've got industrial extractor fans, industrial air conditioning units. These are all completely unnatural sounds, stuff that you wouldn't really hear around the house. And in the hospital I was in, my bed was moved into 4 different locations. And from every single one of those locations, looking out the window, all I could see was another part of the hospital. And those parts of the hospital were painted a sort of battleship grey. It was corrugated, massive corrugated steel. There was nothing, no nature. And one of the first weeks I was in there was when I had one of my little episodes with the mood hoover pigeons, which is in a previous episode. I had a really bad night. I couldn't sleep. I was feeling anxious. I didn't feel normal. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was hovering above myself at times, witnessing what was going on below. And the physio turned up. And again, I was not really good, but the physio turned up and said, "Do you want to go outside today?" And it couldn't have come at a better time. It genuinely, I needed that right there and then. So they hoisted me out into a wheelchair and took me into the memorial garden to go and do some physio, some hand work and some eyes and head movement work, all about balance. And just being outside into the sunshine where they wheeled me out. There's some benches, there's a few people sat around, there were trees, plants. It was August, September, so it was still a really, really nice time. It was warm back then. Sat out, sun on the face. I could touch leaves of trees and plants, smell the flowers. At one point a fly came along and flew into my face, something I normally get a little bit annoyed about. I was delighted because it felt sort of natural. That's what would have happened at home. So I was delighted with that. And it was good for my spirit, it was good for my soul, just for that one sort of hour that we think we spent out there, just to feel that and to hear the sounds of nature. And when I say the sounds of nature, I don't just mean bird song or whatever. I mean the natural sounds that we would hear. So where I live, not far away, there's an aerodrome, and they teach people to fly. So especially during the summer months, or sort of the summery 6 months of the year that you get with nice weather, the sound of a single engine light aircraft going ahead, just that nice quiet airplane noise in the sky, very evocative. I love that sound on a nice warm day. To hear that, to hear the thrum of the cars going up and down the main road outside the hospital, that to me, that's sounds of nature. That is what I would normally hear if I was at home. If I went and sat in the garden, I'd still hear those sounds. I'd get the same kind of sensations. And in the hospital ward, I didn't have that. And just for that little time being sat in a wheelchair, I did. And it made me realise how important nature is. You don't have to be someone who's out all the time, going on walks up and down mountains, singing Falderie with a knapsack on your back. You don't need any of that. if you just go to the supermarket and you're outside and go to get in your car, just being out in the fresh air, hearing noises, hearing kids playing, babies screaming, all these things, the background to our lives that was missing while I was in the hospital. This also then translates over to when you're at home. I realised last week, I was just sat under the sofa watching telly. I thought to myself, I haven't been outside in over 2 weeks. Not only that, I haven't had a window open and sat by it, breathing fresh air. I haven't opened the front door and stood there. I just genuinely haven't interacted with the outside world in over 2 weeks. So I got my phone, I had a look at the weather, and the 10-day forecast was every single day 100% chance of precipitation. I looked outside and it was absolutely pissing down. It was blowing a gale, rain was going sideways. So I got my walking stick and I went outside. For some reason I ended up looking like Michael Caine there, didn't I? A bit bizarre. And I went outside and just that feeling of the air being pushed into your lungs, not breathing it, the wind pushing air into your lungs, rain spattering off your face, that, it meant a lot to me actually. Made me realise, even though I'm not a huge outdoors person, you've got to get out there, you've got to feel what nature is and allow it into your system, into your bloodstream, into your soul, into your spirit. Don't just sit there on the sofa all day long. Get out. Because part of the recovery, I think it's important. And you have to force yourself at times to do this. Because the easy thing is just to sit there and have a cup of tea and a biscuit and watch the telly. I mean, I'm doing all my physio work at home that I have to do. But still got to push yourself to go and do other things, or you will start to vegetate. And again, it doesn't really matter if it's a stroke or anything else. If you are capable to get outside, if you're able to, go and do it. Because when it's taken away from you and you're not able to, you can't physically get out of bed, you're not allowed to get up and walk outside. There's no pot plants or anything around you, which you obviously can't have in a sterile environment like a hospital. You then start to miss it. So make the most of it while you can, especially while you've got your health. While I'm talking about motivation as well, I think I've noticed since I've had no physio, I've been doing it at home myself. While I have been pushing myself to do the exercises that they left me, the program that they left me, and the things I know I have to do to get better, I am missing that bit of motivation that they provide. It's different. You push yourself as much, or you think you're pushing yourself. What they do, it might not be as pushy, but you get you to do more and better quality. So I am missing that. If you're in the same position, might be worth trying to find someone, a friend, you can talk to about it and see if they can help motivate you and push you a little bit. Because it needs to be done. You're not going to get any better just sitting around. You have to move yourself. You have to improve. You have to constantly see if you can reach that little bit further with your hand. That's bloody sore, but I've got to do it eventually if I want to drive again and things like that. You need that motivation. We'll also talk about ambition. Again, something I didn't realise until I was in hospital is how your ambitions change. Now, while I was lying there, the realisation came to me that I don't want to be an astronaut or a train driver. I don't want to score the FA Cup winning goal anymore, nothing like that, all the things that I wanted to do when I was a kid. My ambitions changed. I don't think they were any less lofty than those, but they changed. And after weeks of pissing into a cardboard bottle, my greatest ambition in life was to stand in front of a urinal or a toilet and just have a normal piss into a toilet or urinal like a normal human being. It sounds stupid, but I was lying in bed at times thinking urinals, the ones that we have in gents' toilets in pubs, they are some of the most wonderfully crafted and designed things on earth. please just weigh them up. A ceramic, porcelain, urinal, a cardboard tube, bottle that will occasionally splash back and make you bonanza your trousers. It's just no contest. My ambitions since then, because I can do that now, that's ticked that box. It's not an FA Cup winning, goal, but it's a back post header to your mate who skied it over the bar. At least I can stand there and pee into a toilet. The ambitions have changed. And again, these are stupid things. I want to be able to drive. Sometimes people don't tell you about as well. When you have strokes, there's two types of strokes. There's a TIA, and I can't remember exactly what that means, but it's a mini stroke. It's not a huge thing. I mean, any stroke is a huge thing, but it's not a massive one. It's a bit of a warning shot across the bows, and if you have one of them, change your lifestyle immediately. But there's the TIA, and I think if you have them, you're okay to drive fairly soon afterwards, about a month afterwards. If, like me, you've had a hemorrhage and there's a bleed on the brain, you have to tell the DVLA that you've had it. I am now not allowed to drive a car at all. When I get to the point where I can use my left hand a bit more, and I think that I'm safe, at that point I will have to get in contact with the DVLA, and I think I will have to be assessed to make sure I am safe. If my left hand isn't working as well as it should do, and I'm no longer able to use a gear lever, I may have to buy an automatic car. It may have to be fixed and messed around with so I can use it one-handed. Again, these are things that no one ever tells you about, and it's only when the wonderful people in the Stroke Association came out and spoke to me about these things that I found out that's what you needed to do. I want to be able to play the PlayStation again. I've got hours and hours where I'm sat around doing nothing but watching rubbish TV when I could be gaming. I really want to zig a zig out. No, hang on. I want to play guitar. It's annoying being surrounded by guitars. The house is full of them, and I can't pick one up and just play. My daughter's learning. She's 16. I bought her a new electric guitar for Christmas, and I can't even show her some stuff because the left hand just isn't working. It's annoying the life out of me. If that come back and just add a bit more, I'd be happy. But I can't moan. I'm alive. I could have been dead now. So, silver linings and all that jazz. But yeah, you need to temper your ambitions, but don't give up on them completely. Change them to what suits you at the time. And once you get past them, you move on to the next ones. More of that, I think, in a very quick video I'm going to do fairly soon after this. Anyway, if any of this has been of interest to you, or you found it helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button. That will help me grow this channel and get the message out to more and more people. Comment below if you've got any questions or anything, put them in the comments. I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, you only get one life. Do not throw it away. Hello, my name is Nick. At the end of August 2022, I had a stroke. I've been making some videos to explain what happened to me and how my recovery is going. So I thought I'd just do a quick catch up on where we're up to. What's the third day of 2023. So far things are going okay. I've got no carers coming in, no physios, so I'm on my own. Except I'm not on my own at all because I have family around me, so I'm lucky that way. I know there are people out there who are literally on their own, some elderly people, and the only contact I ever get is with the carers, which is a horrible way to be, but so I count myself lucky that I've got lots of family around me. I'm in a house where there's always someone in. A lot of the times there's loads of people here. It's a very busy house, so there's noise, there's people to talk to, there's things to keep me diverted. But I was thinking this is my third day now, and I do miss the carers. Like I say, I've got loads of people in the house to talk to. I've got friends who send me messages, get phone calls. and it's great. I'm really thankful for it. It's nice to be able to talk to people. When you speak to your carers, it's a slightly different thing. They look at things from a different angle, a different viewpoint. Your friends, your family look at you and how things are going, whether you're walking better, if you can clean and dress yourself, they're delighted. Your carers are asking how things are going physically, mentally, and it's also, they're really nice people, so I miss it from a friendship point of view. But it did get me thinking. It's a very, very, again, it's another one of these strange things that I wasn't prepared for and I didn't even realise until a little bit later on, is how close you get to your carers and to your physios. And the relationship is very intimate, and I don't mean that in a sexual way at all, but they get to the truth of you, and it's something which maybe you're happy with everyone that you know, all your friends being completely open and honest and bearing your soul, but I don't think it's something that comes naturally to everyone. So yeah, you do get really close, and it is very intimate, especially with the physios, because one of my physios said to me, apologised one day. She just said, it seems every time I come round here, all I do is grab your mum. And she was right. What she was doing was, because I've got problems walking, I have to switch on the top of my hamstring. So she was grabbing hold of the top of my hamstring, which is located in my backside. And she was doing that and talking to me, trying to get me to switch that one muscle on. And it's so hard to do, being able to mentally and then physically switch on one muscle. So she was constantly grabbing me and talking me through it. And other times you have physios that are grabbing hold of your legs and moving you around your arms. You're really close with them. So you're physically close, but also mentally and emotionally close. And by that, I mean, your carers and your physios, they have to get inside your head. They have to be able to ask questions that make them understand exactly where you are, where you're up to. The physios need to ask questions and find out about how your muscles are reacting, how physically you are reacting, whether you're too tired to carry on, and whether the physio that they're doing is working for you, whether it's hurting you, whether it's sending you backwards, or you're doing well and can be pushed further. So there's got to be a two-way trust. I've got to completely trust in them, that whatever they say, it's done for the right reasons. I know it is, because the physios, they're here to make me better. But there are times when they tell you to do something and it's got to be up there, it's got to be, yeah, I understand why they're doing this. They've explained it and I trust them completely. So there's got to be this thing where there's absolute 100% trust between you. With the carers, there has to be a trust between you, because how many times have I stood there naked in front of someone? There's got to be a trust that it's their profession, it's what they're doing to make you feel more comfortable. To feel comfortable, you have to have that trust, because if you don't, it's the most vulnerable way you will ever be, in front of a relative stranger, completely naked, at their mercy, not being able to use one entire side of your body. So there is an intimacy, and as a result, I think you become close to the carers and the physios, and you start to class them as friends, not just as people there to help you out. So I miss not only the carers, I also miss the physios, because every one of them that I've dealt with have been really nice people, good to spend time with, good to talk to, intelligent, engaging, and genuinely and openly wanting the best for you and doing everything they can to help. So that's always nice, having someone who wants to help you, who genuinely wants to help you, and you feel that. It's an incredible feeling. So I do miss that. But I am lucky. When I want to go for a shower, like yesterday and the day before, I just sat on the sofa and thought, no, I want to go over and have a shower. So I just shouted to my dad, and he walked up behind me on the way up to make sure I wasn't doing anything stupid. I gave him a text when I was ready to come back down, and he walked in front of me, same thing, making sure I was using the right feet, I was getting myself in the right positions, I was taking my time, I wasn't rushing. Not everyone's as lucky as that. I am. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, it's a strange thing. I don't think I've really explained it as quite as much as I feel it. It really is difficult until you're in that situation. When you are either completely naked in front of someone that, like I say, is a relative stranger, or you are having to submit bodily to someone and let them control what you're doing, you don't really understand it. Once it's happened to you, and I'm sure there might be people out there who are watching who think, yeah, I've had the same thing. Once you've had that, it is a strange feeling, but it's nice to be able to relax into it and trust the people around you. It really is. And again, I think that's where intimacy comes from. In the same way that if you spoke to a counsellor and had therapy, there's an intimacy there because you have to bare your soul to someone. They have to dig deep, and you both have to have that trust between you. I think it's the same with the physios and the carers. They sort of form, I don't want to say, it's like speaking to a psychiatrist, but they're very highly trained, they're very experienced at what they do. You can't talk to them about things. And yeah, it's not a psychiatrist and patient kind of thing, but they can take on board what you're talking about, and they're very, very good at giving you advice and just listening at times. Knowing what to say and what not to say, which I think is just as important. But yeah, so far going all right. I'm eating well. My weight is a little bit fluctuating, but not by much, so I'm happy with that. I went for a walk on New Year's Day. Couldn't quite manage one yesterday because by the time I got round to thinking about getting out there, it was freezing cold and raining. So no, can't be doing with this, especially not with a walking stick. But it looks bright out there today, so I might go for a little walk, some fresh air, and see how things are. Yeah, and then as the days and weeks go by, I'm going to try and get further and further with the walks, because I think I need to build up a little bit of muscle in my legs and then try and get this arm working, because it is just doing my head in. I want to pick a guitar up and I can't. It pisses me off big time. I try not to get frustrated because I understand it will come back in time, and it is literally just a time issue. But I want to drive, I want to get back in the car. I know I can't. I've had a letter from the DVLA today. I let them know that I had a stroke. I had the hemorrhage version of the stroke, the bad one. So they're now having to speak to my doctor at the hospital to get advice on how bad things were before they can come back to me and say, right, this is what you need to do to get back in the car, which is going to be a long time before that happens. And I do think I'm going to have to get an automatic rather than my manual car. Even I was getting to this age, I thought to myself, I'm going to need an automatic just to relax and have a chill driving experience. But I think the hand will come back and I'll be able to steer and use the indicators. But my days of using a manual gearbox, I think, are over. So I'm waiting to hear back from them, see what the doctor says to them, how long he thinks it'll take. But the guitar, I've been absolutely torturing myself recently watching guitar videos and car videos on YouTube. And I shouldn't, because it really, it doesn't annoy me. It does give me that little bit of frustration, but I can't just pick a guitar up. I'm surrounded by them. I can't just pick one up and play. I can't teach my daughter some of the things she wants to learn, and I know I could. But I try not to let myself get frustrated, because I just know it's time. It is literally just time. Time and a little bit of effort, and I'll be back to how I was. But, oh man, I want to play guitar. Badly. No, I don't want to play it badly, I want to play it well, but you know what I mean. But I'll get there. Always be positive. That's what it's all about. Got to be positive. Because if you don't think it'll happen, then you're talking yourself into it not happening. And with that positivity, I always liken it to going ice skating. If you go into it thinking, I'm going to fall, you're talking yourself into falling. So you're gone before you even get on the ice. Whereas if you think, no, I'm going to go for it, you might stay up a little bit longer, and if you do fall, you just get back up and get on with it. Life's a bit like that. Life's a bit like ice skating. Deep that, innit? Very profound. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. If you enjoyed the videos or taken anything from it, please consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the like button, dropping a comment. If you've got any questions about anything I've mentioned or any of the previous videos, just put them in the comments and I will try and answer them as quickly as possible. I do appreciate everyone who watches these videos and takes the time to interact. It means a lot to me. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Take care, and remember, you only get one life. Don't throw it away.